Now, it's Red Eye Radio. Gary McNamara and Eric Harley talk about everything from politics to social issues and news of the day. Whether you're up late or you're just starting your day, welcome to the show. From the Uniden America Studios, this is Red Eye Radio.
All across America, we are Red Eye Radio. He is Eric Harley, and I'm Gary McNamara. Welcome and good morning. So, reading here, we did the YouGov poll earlier about how people think about is it acceptable to murder somebody because of their politics?
Right.
Well, in the YouGov poll, they also did the poll. Do you generally consider it to be acceptable or unacceptable for a person to be happy about the death of a public figure that they oppose? All right.
Okay.
77% of Republicans believe it is always unacceptable to feel joy at the death of someone they oppose. 38% of Democrats share that view.
Wow.
And, you know, you look at the story that we did earlier that was doing the polling numbers from April and the number of self-described liberals. It was over half that believe it would be morally acceptable to kill Trump. 48% for Elon Musk. None of these are conservative polls. You can't say they were skewed because they were conservative. YouGov isn't, and the poll, I forgot the poll. Was it Pew? I can't remember who did it, the other poll that we did before. And so, and you and I started out the show when it was, because it was, as you said yesterday, what was it? Balance Out Thursday? What did you call it?
Oh, it was Both Sides Thursday
Both sides,
on social media with the liberal activist media out there going, both sides. Yeah.
And as you know, I'm reading here, former NBC, MSNBC legal analyst Glenn Kirshner tells Jim Acosta, and we all have to find a way to cool it down and ratchet it back, which is hard to do when you have the streets of Washington, D.C. militarized.
Wow.
You know, everything
basically saying, we're not going to do it because of Trump.
Right.
I mean, if you're gonna abbreviate it, that's basically what he's saying.
You know, and then follows. You know, we are willing to do anything to expand our control of the people. Because you know that what signal is the administration sending that? You know, we are willing to do anything to expand the control of people. Was the reason that Trump did that in D.C. was to control the law-abiding citizen?
No.
In D.C.
No.
So that's a lie.
Mayor Bowser agrees, by the way. She's been talking about the progress. I haven't heard anything in a few days, but we said, look, she's talking in such positive terms about the progress they're making. Someone's going to call her MAGA.
There is no one on the right that is saying that silence is violence or speech is violence.
No.
That comes directly from the left. They own that.
Yep.
What was that quote you read me?
Oh, I got to get this for you. Hold on a sec. Antonio Garcia Martinez on social media. He's in the crypto market. He's a executive in the crypto market, and he posted last evening. The point, and this is brilliant. The point of declaring words violence was always to be able to use violence against words.
Mm-hmm. What's the other reason? Those are exclusive.
Yep.
From the left. It doesn't come from the right.
Right.
And we've said this for the longest time to anybody who was in the mushy middle.
Mm-hmm.
And we asked the question, you know, whether it was what we saw in October of 2020. You know, the shutting down of the New York Post, the effort to censor, you know, that came from inside government bureaucrats who were against Donald Trump.
Yeah.
Led by Democrats, as we know. That effort to censor, that doesn't come from the right.
Right.
There is, I don't know, any figure on the right, and I'm talking about traditional Republicans, that has ever advocated mass censorship of the other side. In fact, it's the opposite. We all encourage it. You know, if you listen to this show, you know that we might not have a show if we said the Democrats need to be silenced.
Well, that would limit our audio cuts
Yes.
to almost nothing.
To nothing.
Well, and here's the thing, too, because even with people that we, for the most part, agree with, we'll see it sometimes, at times from President Trump. This person should be fired. Well, that's up to the company that employs that person.
Mm-hmm.
I don't need them to be fired. I certainly don't want their voice silenced. I don't want them to go away. I want to know, and this is the whole point, where everybody stands, how everybody thinks. And I think we all should. So, look, there are things that are going to get you fired. When MSNBC fired that consultant day before yesterday, or commentator, those.
I think there's a couple of teachers that have been fired.
A couple of teachers have been fired.
A professor.
Again, there are things that are going to get you fired.
Right.
But often there will be, all right, this report from CNN and they got it wrong, and the news director there should be fired, or the reporter that did that should be fired. Well, I don't necessarily need them to be fired. That's up to their employer, what kind of responsibility they want to take for the whole thing. I do believe they share in that responsibility, but that's up to them. And the point is that when it comes to our society, one of the great things about X, one of the great things about Elon Musk purchasing Twitter, it's, I should say, greatly overpaying for Twitter. That was a move that really opened the door. Because, quite frankly, Truth Social probably wasn't going to blossom into, I think it's done well, but it wasn't going to blossom into the massive amount of daily users. It might one day, but it wasn't going to happen overnight. That there was going to be a free speech forum, greater free speech forum. There's still things you can say or post, I guess, that they'll take down, or someone will report. But when that happened, it opened up this huge, huge opportunity for greater debate. And the left lost their mind. Charlie Kirk, from the age of 8, actually before the age of 18, but officially when starting Turning Point at the age of 18, saw that opportunity as well everywhere. He said, especially on campuses. These are my peers. I'm going to get out of the college game, but I'm going to go to these campuses, and we're going to have, I want to have debates with these young people because I see an opportunity. I believe they'll be willing to listen, and he was right. And he made progress on that.
Now, when you do hear, for example, because you did hear with some of when he was assassinated, some of the things that were said, who was the one guy that was let go from MSNBC, and there was a cry from the right, the emotional cry, saying this is unacceptable, to blame him, for being murdered.
Right.
That was so outrageous. You sort of knew that, and I forgot the guy's name at the moment here, for some reason, but that wasn't government saying you need to shut up.
No.
And he can still speak.
Again, that's between the employer and the
It is
individual.
it is the fact of the narrative, and it's also the fact that this is so outrageous for anybody in a major news network, whether it's MSNBC, CNN. Well, we said major news network, but it's unacceptable, and the bias is so great that you need to fire them. They didn't have to, but there were people on the right that said
I understand the emotion behind it when people say that,
especially at that particular point.
Right.
But it's general across the board on the left. They're the ones that came up with silence is violence.
Yeah.
And speech is violence. And so you ask, okay, what's the violence? What is the level of violence? And again, we've gone back and used this because it's the perfect example, because the radical transgender movement is such a big deal and may be a consequence in the assassination of Charlie Kirk, according to the Wall Street Journal. Well, I guess we'll see what that ends up being. But we go back to Josh Hawley talking to that Berkeley professor.
Yeah. And
he's asking about the radical transgender movement. So, what do you mean that a male can be a female? And she said, well, I just need to know that this line of questioning is transphobic. He goes, what do you mean? I'm asking questions about how you think. I'm trying to understand what you think. And she said, well, let me ask you a question. Can men get pregnant? He says, no, they can't. Well, see, right there, that's it. That's violence. Because what are you talking about? It's violence for me telling you that men can't be women, which we all know isn't the case. No, it's violence because transgenders are much more likely to commit suicide. And by you saying that, she implied you're driving them to suicide.
Right.
Which was like, what? And then, as we have stated, she just acknowledged a huge mental issue problem with transgenders. That has come specifically from the left. You cannot challenge them. You cannot question them because they're so mentally unstable. If you do, they'll commit suicide.
They point out, according to them, a mental health crisis in that community, and then tell you can't talk about even the mental health crisis.
Right. And if you do, you're committing violence because they'll commit suicide. And then when it comes up, well, wait a minute, we've seen a lot more transgenders be involved in mass murderers. Yeah. Is there a challenge here? Is there a mental health problem here? You can't go there. Right. You went there already.
Right.
And this is the weirdest thing. They created the narrative. When you question the narrative, you're the one that's committing the wrongdoing. You're the one that's bigoted in some way. Exactly. You're the one that's violent in some way. Well, you guys have come up with the narrative when we've just tried to ask questions, and you're the ones that came up with, no, you can't do it because they'll commit suicide. There's mental health problems here. Right. Okay, so there's mental health problems with transgenders. You're transphobic. You're violent for saying that. You can't win.
Right.
How do you deal with that?
Because they want to shut down the conversation.
And so when we heard yesterday, well, this is everybody needs to quiet down. Well, no, it's not equal.
Right.
It's not equal. What is the argument about? And the argument is about what we're dealing with in the left is things that are absolutely clear. They're self-evident to everyone. The left is denying they live in a delusional, untruthful world, and if you don't agree with it, then you're oppressing them and committing violence.
Yeah.
That's what's going on.
Yeah. Yeah.
And if nobody's going to talk about it, the right has to talk about it. Republicans have to attack it. Republicans have to attack in the arena of ideas.
Yeah.
Is what we're talking about when we use the word attack. You have to attack. You don't sit on the defensive. You go on the offense. There shouldn't be one Republican that ever allows a Democrat to ever call them a racist when the Democrats have mainstream and institutionalized identity politics, which is judging people by the group that they're in and not individuals. They know how many Democrats have said, I'll name two, James Carville and what's his name, Tim Ryan.
Mm-hmm.
Both have said we've got to stop with the identity politics. You're judging people by groups and not individuals. You cannot do that in 2025. People don't buy into it. It's racism. And then they turn around and call you a racist?
Yeah.
Understand, it's everybody has to calm down. Both sides have to do it. Both sides. No, you have to stop promoting untrue, completely bizarre ideas and trying to defend them. And when we don't agree with them, then say we're Nazis, we're racist, we're committing acts of violence.
Right.
Because we're trying to understand your completely delusional and untrue narrative that you're promoting in the arena of ideas.
Well, that's it. Using lies to build fear. The ultimate fear in people's minds.
And I want to hear more. I want to hear Republicans more and conservatives more on the offense. This is easy stuff. They're getting away with doing things that are immoral and evil.
Yeah.
And the people, if the good people don't stand up against this evil, bizarro, immoral narrative being promoted by the left, then you end up with the situations that we have seen.
Right.
And it can't stand. But the good people have to stand up and say, this is wrong. Stop it. You need to challenge them. Never be on the defensive.
Nope.
In the arena of ideas, you're on the offense, not defense.
Every day.
866-90-RED-EYE.
This morning's USDA Farm Report is brought to you by House Products. Tested, trusted, guaranteed since 1920.
A silver bell from the Silver State.
We just named her. She is a 53-foot red fir that comes from the northern part of Nevada.
And Christy Buckley of the U.S. Forest Service says the tree will represent Nevada and the country as this year's U.S. Capitol Christmas tree. The first time a tree from the Silver State has been selected. The Forest Service has partnered with the architect of the Capitol to select what is called the People's Tree since 1970.
It's kind of this long-standing tradition, and it's a way to really highlight all of our different national forests and all of our different states and really bring some pride to all the forests that make this whole nation special.
Harvest of this year's U.S. Capitol Christmas tree is scheduled for late October. Silver Bell will make a tour of its home state prior to its cross-country trek to the U.S. Capitol grounds in preparation of its lighting ceremony during the holiday season. I'm Ron Bain reporting for the U.S. Department of Agriculture in Washington, D.C.
This report brought to you by Cenex Fuels and Lubes.
Get in touch with Red Eye Radio, toll free at 866-90-RED-EYE.
We are Red Eye Radio. He's Eric Harley, and I'm Gary McNamara. I guess the point's simple, Eric. We have the truth on our side in so many different ways.
Yeah.
Conservatives and Republicans should use it.
Mm-hmm.
And, you know, we've sat here. We've been here long enough. We've been through all the different cycles, you and I, both over the last 40 years.
Yeah. Yeah.
in the media. We've seen, we've seen it all. And, it's just, we know what the truth is. We know every single... Let's put it this way. We know 99% of the way that Democrats and liberals argue. Yeah, and we know they don't want to argue the truth.
Right.
We know right now that on every single major issue, they don't have the public behind them.
Right.
And so the only thing that they do, and I just saw it's hilarious. You go through social media, and there are quotes of Charlie Kirk, and they'll actually put the video. This is what Charlie Kirk said in this video. Mm-hmm. He doesn't say it. They know people won't look at the video.
Exactly.
They're like, they're going to read the false quote that they put on top of it, and they put Charlie Kirk in, and they're just getting blasted.
Yep.
I mean, just getting blasted for it. But understand that everything that they're going through right now is because they know they can't sell. They can't make you buy what they're selling.
Right.
Listening to Red Eye Radio from the Uniden America Studios.
And he is Eric Harley, and I'm Gary McNamara. Welcome and good morning. Thanks for being here. I want to play this audio cut here. You know, I'm not going to call it an audio cut of the day or audio cut of the week or anything like that. It's just audio cut of Charlie Kirk.
Okay.
It's self-explanatory. Here it is.
So on the topic of the left, what is your single most or best advice that you would give to somebody or a student or anyone who wants to engage in a debate?
Well, ask questions, be civil. They won't be. Do not engage in ad hominem attack, even if they do. Use humor and wit where possible. But also understand that we're going to have the best data, facts, logic, so on and so forth, and they will immediately try to attack your intentions. And if they say they have good intentions, then there's no way that they can possibly be a leftist, because the leftist wants to destroy America as we know it. Liberals actually might want to preserve America. They just have a different way to interpret it. Leftists want the complete and fundamental destruction of Western civilization in this country. They think capitalism is a mistake. They think we live in a rigged patriarchy. They think the Judeo-Christian construct is evil. They want to burn down everything that we love and we hold dear.
Yeah.
And so when you hear it over the next couple of days, because this is what you're going to hear. You're going to hear is, and that's how we started out the show. Well, both sides need to bring down the rhetoric.
Yep.
And we said, no, that's not what's going on. You know, you said it a long time ago when I first started working with you, that if the premise is wrong, everything afterwards may seem correct, but it's not, because the premise was wrong to begin with.
Yep.
That the problem is that both sides need to just settle down a little bit. And it's like, that's not what's going on here.
Not at all. Not at all.
You know, you deal, I deal, you know, you and I deal with everybody. But when it comes to, and I agree with Charlie Kirk, there are liberals that just interpret things and want things in a different way. I know a lot of liberals. When he talks about leftists are the ones you look at, for example, the AOCs and the Bernie Sanders. They want to tear down the system.
Yep.
They want the system gone. They think the Constitution is evil. You know, liberals, no, they want to keep the country the way it is. They just interpret it a lot differently. But both are enabling each other. That's the thing. The liberals are enabling the leftists.
Yeah, because the leftists, or as I would call them, you know, and it's I guess the labels really don't matter, but if you're talking about the radicals,
Yes,
the leftists, and I think those are all interchangeable. It's fine, whatever label you want to put on them, but it is those radicals that are on the far left that are leading the party, and they're enabled by the liberals who still vote blue.
Mm-hmm.
And, you know, I said something after October 7th. After October 7th, there is no in between. There's no middle ground. There are the radicals and there's everybody else. And I'll say this as it applies to the entire political environment, that if you're a liberal and you disagree with the radical far left, then you have a responsibility to call them out and also not support them, not enable them. And that you have to have a will for that. I don't know that we'll see that in my lifetime. I suspect we won't. But if you're looking at, because I don't need anyone to convert. My goal isn't to convert someone to be a conservative or a Republican. My goal is to have the conversation and let them find it on their own, because you and I both believe people are capable of doing that. It's whether you want to be, if you have the will, if you want to be willfully ignorant, or if you be a radical. I do believe that there's an opportunity still today to have people rethink things. We saw it, and, you know, we had no part in it, and we brought him up a couple of times this morning, but we saw it in Michael Rappaport. Because at some point, he says March of 24, something clicked. He looked up the whole thing on Charlottesville and found that it was a lie. Then he found all these other lies that the Democrats had been telling him for a long time, and he was angry. Well, people have to have those discoveries on their own, and that starts with the will to do that. I asked the question a few times, and I'll ask it again, and that is for anybody on the left that votes Democrat, and you're not a radical, you're rank and file left. My question would be, what do you actually know about Trump, about Charlie Kirk, about other issues? What do you actually know, and how much of it are you just repeating what other people say? Have you had are you on a quest like at some point Michael Rappaport was? I don't remember the reason he stated for doing that, but he did it. Have you ever had the desire to do research on your own and look at things and listen? Charlie Kirk believed he had a great opportunity to talk to young people, and clearly there was, because he made great progress and was effective at doing it. But for him, and I would agree with this in terms of the approach, the first thing is the opportunity for the conversation, the debate. You and I we knew years ago when the Democrats, when the far left started shutting down the debate, you can't even have the conversation. My gosh, if you're Josh Hawley, you can't even ask the question. They want to shut you down, so you can't have a conversation. But there are people out there that are still willing to listen. I don't have any, I'll say it this way. I would love to think that conversations, including the ones we have here, are changing hearts and minds. We've heard from people that told us that's what happened with them from listening to us. That's great. Instead of saying, I don't need them to be conservative or Republicans, maybe I'll change that to, if that's going to happen, I need that to happen from them. I need them to be motivated, because that's true change. That's not coming from something I said. It's coming from something they found. You and I have said for a long time, you don't have to believe anything that we say. Go do your own work. It's interesting because I told you during a break yesterday, I said, one thing that I saw the other day, and I've seen it before, but at Charlie Kirk's rallies, on his tent, the banner says, "Prove me wrong." You and I for years have said, tell us where we're wrong. Because what we're doing, it's the same idea. We're inviting the debate. We're inviting the conversation, and we want to have that. So if you're on the left and you're not radical, you have to ask yourself what's going on and why the far left will not have a conversation, why they're so angry, and why they want to shut down debate instead of have it.
And as we know, the radical transgender movement may be involved in this, according to the Wall Street Journal, as we all know, with the assassination of Charlie Kirk. We know the questions about transgenders being involved in mass murders and everything else. But this is the perfect example. I'm going to play it because we've referenced it. I want to play the Josh Hawley audio cut again in case people haven't heard it. This is the problem. This is how the left argues. But here we go. Here is his back and forth. And we've talked about this a lot the last couple of days. Here it is. Listen to it yourself. This is in their own words.
Professor Bridges, you said several times, you've used a phrase, I want to make sure I understand what you mean by it. You've referred to people with a capacity for pregnancy. Would that be women?
Many women, cis women, have the capacity for pregnancy. Many cis women do not have the capacity for pregnancy. There are also trans men who are capable of pregnancy, as well as non-binary people who are capable of pregnancy.
So this isn't really a women's rights issue.
We can recognize that this impacts women while also recognizing that it impacts other groups. Those things are not mutually exclusive, Senator Hawley.
Oh, so your view is that the core of this right then is about what?
So I want to recognize that your line of questioning is transphobic, and it opens up trans people to violence by not recognizing that.
Wow, you're saying that I'm opening up people to violence by asking whether or not women are the folks who can have pregnancies?
So I want to note that 1 out of 5 transgender persons have attempted suicide. So I think it's important
because of my line of questioning? So we can't talk about it?
Because denying that trans people exist and pretending not to know that they exist
I'm
is
denying that trans people exist by asking you if you're talking about women having pregnancies?
Do you believe that men can get pregnant?
No, I don't think women can get
So you are
pregnant.
denying that trans people exist?
And that leads to violence? Is this how you run your classroom? Are students allowed to question you?
So there you go. I mean, it's everything that we have told you before. I mean, that's exactly what it is. And we're dealing with that right now, where his line of questioning is promoting violence because transgenders are much more likely to commit suicide. And then when the right brings up, okay, you're telling us that there seems to be a huge mental problem and challenge here because they're much more likely to commit suicide, you come back at us and call us transphobic for saying there's a mental illness with transgenders, yet you're the ones that initiated the argument to begin with.
Right.
It's like that's the whole point. Everything is based on the circular lie logic is the circular lie illogic.
Yeah, right.
And how do you argue with it? What do you do in this case? None of it makes sense. That's what you're dealing with on the other side. Lies, complete fabrications, and when you question it, you're the one that are opening up these people to violence from themselves.
Yeah,
it's
again, the only attempt there was to shut it down.
Yes, we don't want to have the argument. We don't
shut it down.
Excuse me, we don't want to have the debate.
To put Josh Hawley on the defense.
Yeah.
And that's the first step of shutting it down.
And that's what Charlie Kirk said.
Yeah.
Which was a great, to reference the last audio cut.
Yeah.
What they're going to do then, they're going to hit your intentions.
Right.
And that's why she went right to it. It was almost like the formula. I need to hit your intentions. Yeah. You're asking these questions because you could tell Josh Hawley was being civil, and you could tell if you look at his face, he's trying to figure out, I'm trying to understand what your logic is here. And when she realized where it was going, it's like, well, then you're being transphobic.
Right.
And you are the one that are causing this type of violence and transgender. What the hell are you talking about?
Yeah. I would like to note that she wants to control the conversation and shut the debate down.
If you want to know what the problem is, there it is right there.
Yeah.
A microcosm of the problem that exists today between the right and left.
And as you said, don't be on the defensive ever. Don't let them get away with that.
Yeah.
Don't ever let them get away with that.
Can't.
Because they use lies to put you on the defensive, and then you're defending a lie about you or what you believe? Where's the logic in that? Where's the justice in that?
And then there's the entire other question. You're a professor teaching children?
Yeah.
Or young adults?
Right. Wow. That school has a lot of money coming in.
I know. 866-90 Red Eye.
Coming up, more with Gary McNamara and Eric Harley. It's Red Eye Radio.
We are Red Eye Radio. He is Eric Harley, and I'm Gary McNamara. Oh, man, just so depressing. I just happened to go to Fox, and they have got the pictures of Charlie Kirk's widow walking off of Air Force Two, and then I just saw one with the coffin being taken out of the hearse, and it's just, oh, man, just,
Yeah, it's so sad. we send our love, prayers, condolences to the family, the extended family, as we mentioned earlier, over at Salem and
Turning Point,
and of course his fans, the people that he reached. You know, they received a benefit. He had that impact, but that means many somebodies received a benefit that was life-changing for them. You can't put a price on that.
This is Red Eye Radio on Westwood One.